Yeah, it's not a stock. Okay. You're not selling options like on AMC or something like that, right? I mean, it's not a stock. So be patient. That's something I've learned over the years. And, because the transaction cost and the friction is so high with real estate, right? To sell a property, it's going to cost you 6 or 7%, even with a discounted commission. You've got ins and outs, you've got exchange issues, you've got lending to think about. There's all these different variables, so, really my experience has been, to buy and hold on to it. Now, have I done that? No.
I am Christina Suter, and this is the Real Estate Breakthrough Show, where we talk about the reality of real estate, the mindset you need in order to face the reality of what it is, and tips and tricks to get you moving forward in investing. I am your host, Christina Suter. I have Kathleen Kramer with me. I have secretly been hounding her for like years, and she has no idea. First saw Kathleen Kramer, I think it was at an Orange County meeting of some kind, and you were presenting on econ, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to know this lady. And then I, of course, saw you through the Norris group as well. And finally, it was through the Norris group I got your email, because we were on the same email stream for some stuff at the Norris group. And then I'm like trying to email you, and now that's an old email. And I'm like, I need to get Kathleen Kramer on my show. Oh my gosh. So literally, I have been building towards this for a very long time inside of me, just so you know. So I'm very honored and excited that you're here on the show with me and being able to talk about this. And we're going to go into her history, and we're going to find out her case study, her deal that did not work, and what she learned from it, and financial freedom. So I'm excited to present her to you guys. So let me give you a little bit of her bio, and so you can get a sense for who she is. All right. In her 25 years as a licensed real estate broker and mortgage originator, Kathleen Kramer has closed over 2,500 transactions for more than $1 billion in volume. Yes, guys, I said 1 billion. In the early 2000s, she owned and operated a branch of American Residential Funding, Inc., a nationwide residential lender. She also ran a successful real estate club in Huntington Beach from 2002 to 2006. She and her husband, Michael, have personally invested in a variety of real estate-backed investments, including single-family, multifamily, office, land development, Reg D syndications, and non-performing notes in several states. Her current investment focus is on non-performing notes in the second trustee position, working alongside her husband of 24 years at One Oak Advisory, LLC. That's the number one. One Oak Advisory, LLC. Kathleen earned a degree in business economics from the University of California at Santa Barbara in 1990, which is why I was busy telling her every time she talks on econ, I am like, I gotta see her. Like guys, my listeners know that I love presenting on econ, but it's still something I have to pull together. Like it's something I have to really wrap my head around. Whereas I think Kathleen just does it naturally. And so today I was like, oh, that's why you're so blooming good at it, is because you have a degree. My degree's in business marketing, which is not the same as economics. I'm just saying. All right, moving on. So besides being a licensed California broker, she holds certifications in commercial real estate, private lending, and mortgage planning. For the past 6 years, she has been a regular speaker at LA and Orange County real estate investor clubs, including the Norris Group as well, and as other clubs as well, providing macroeconomic and local real estate market updates. And she is very good at it, guys. So if you see her performing, you go on Meetup and you put in her name and you see her presenting at a club, I strongly suggest that you make sure you check in with her and that you catch what she has to say. She enjoys raising her daughter, leading a Girl Scout troop, and teaching classes on real estate due diligence. Kathleen, thank you for being on the show.
Hey, thank you, Christine. It's my honor, really. I'm so in awe of what you've been creating with this broadcast, and I'm really honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. I am glad that we finally got it clarified and got us together. So we can go into your whole background, but let's talk a little bit about why real estate for you at all. I mean, you got a economics degree. You could have gone anywhere into anything, and yet here you are in real estate and started in lending. So walk us through that real quick.
Well, thank you. My perspective of real estate really was built as a child, and I think a lot of us bring the experiences of our childhood forward. So just a short background. So my father was born and raised in Hungary and escaped Hungary in 1956 as a refugee from the communists. So he was bent. Okay, I almost said a bad word. Oops. He was bent on building his American dream, which included homeownership. So from a very early age, I was taught by my parents to value homeownership. Now they bought, don't cringe now, folks. Okay, we're in California, so I'm going to throw out some numbers here that are going to make your head spin. Okay, but in 1975, they bought a 3,000 square foot, 5-bedroom pool home, all on one level, overlooking a golf course for $55,000 in Solana Beach. Okay, this is where I was raised. And by the time now that home today is worth over $2 million.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Now they didn't own it that long. They sold it in 1985, but I learned from them that house was probably the best investment that they had ever made, because they never saved a penny other than that house. We went on the most fabulous vacations. I have to tell you, it was a wonderful childhood. I have nothing to complain about, except that I did not learn a single thing about money other than buying a house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you bought a house.
So when I finished college and had that wonderful, beautiful economics degree,
yes,
it was 1990, and that was a recession. Mm-hmm. And as you may recall, because we're pretty close, right?
Yes, right.
We have a similar background in that regard. So yes. That was a recession, and it was not that easy to get a job, kind of like how it is now, right? Mm-hmm. For the millennials are having a heck of a time, right? Mm-hmm. So I ended up moving to Hawaii, got a sales job, giving sales presentations about tours and activities.
Okay.
And then through this personal development course that I took, I met a realtor. And she changed my life. Okay. She helped me buy my first condo. Okay. I was 22 years old and I was living on Maui. How's that?
I don't feel sorry for you. If I'm supposed to feel sorry for you, I'm sorry I don't.
Okay. But here's the thing is that I lost that condo to foreclosure. So now, so I learned a lesson. Now, this is not my hardest lesson. Okay. It was my first lesson. Right. So I kind of consider some of these boo-boos that I made in real estate to be seminars. Okay. So, I've had several seminar experiences in my life. And this was the first, but what I didn't count on with that condo was Hurricane Iniki.
Whew. Right. Okay. Yes, that is truly something normally people wouldn't count too much on, unless, of course, you're an upper end syndicator who's been involved in the business for a decade or more, and you've seen that these strange things come out of nowhere, and you go, well, what is the worst case scenario? I need to be crunching on these numbers, because you might get a hurricane, or you might be in Kansas and you're going to get a tornado, or you're going to be in New Orleans and you're going to get wiped out by a tsunami. Like, what is it that you're going to be? What is your worst case scenario? So, okay, continue. I love the story so far.
Isn't this great? So, so after Hurricane Iniki, of course, the tourism industry was decimated in Hawaii, even Maui, which we didn't have a lot of physical damage. So again, the job market became kind of difficult to navigate because the tourism was down. So I moved back to the mainland. Okay. So I moved back to Orange County. And before I knew it, I was working for a mortgage company and I got my license, and, working in mortgages was probably the best thing. So now I know why I lost that condo, because it brought me back to the mainland and I got involved in the mortgage business. And, this is when I really got the real estate bug. So as anyone who's ever gotten a home loan, which most of your listeners have probably done at least one transaction, that you get to see, the loan officer gets to see everything about your finances, right?
Yes,
everything.
They do. Yes, they
every
do.
Pay stub, every bank statement, every canceled check,
and it has to make sense.
Child. Yeah.
They're going to ask you questions. So it actually has to make sense to them. It's not like you can say, oh, by the way, I own this property and I'm going to hide that I have a loss on it. It's like, no. They actually have to make sense out of that. And they're like, they'll figure that out.
You kind of do, right? This was before all of the stated income and the no income, no asset, no job, ninja, we call them ninja loans back in the day. Anyhow, but what I noticed is the people that had the most income at retirement were the people with real estate. And that's what I took away. Now, this is not what my parents taught me. I didn't learn this. I just learned it from looking at people's tax returns. So after you look at a few hundred sets of tax returns, you start to understand, like, okay, this person has a pension. This person only lives on Social Security. They're not doing so hot. This person over here, and you don't have to have 100 properties. In fact, that's kind of scary. The people that had 3 or 4 solid income producing assets, 5, right? 5's a great number. I'm right with you on that one, Coach. So, those people were the people that had the most residual income at retirement. And that's what got me and my husband to start buying properties.
And so you now actually have your own portfolio of your own.
Yeah, we do. And it's matured over time. So we started, yes, we started with a single family
over
home.
time.
It's matured as I have matured. I've matured over time. It's no big secret. Right. So, it's been a few years. And so basically we started, though, we took some pretty good risks. We stretched with that first home buying purchase in Huntington Beach. We live in Orange County, California, and we scraped and we scratched and we put 10% down. And, our first mortgage was a 5/1 adjustable loan. It was in the 6s, right? Okay. I mean, everyone now is going, oh, that's terrible. But, it was a stated income loan. Okay.
It's less than 7, which used to be the anticipated average of a note was 7%.
Right. That's right. So,
like the last 20 years.
So this was like, it took us a while to get there. I started in lending in like 94. I came back from Hawaii and I got my job, and then, it takes a while, but so 2000, we bought a property, a brand new house, and in Huntington, and I think the first was 6 3/4, something like that on an arm. And then we had a second at 11 7/8.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes. So it was an 80-10-10.
It was an 80-10-10. That's right.
Okay.
And we were like, I hope I can make enough money doing loans, Luckily for me, the Fed was helping out our situation, and real estate prices were going up. It was 2000. And we rode that wave and did very well in my career. I was working 60, 70 hours a week. So anyone that tells you that real estate's not hard work is lying. Okay. They're lying.
They're just lying.
So it takes diligence. Now, you don't have to be a mortgage loan officer to do well with real estate. You just need to start investing and then keep working it, right?
Let your portfolio mature.
And let your portfolio mature.
Because actually, it's actually a lot of value in that basic wisdom of letting your portfolio mature. So yeah, I don't want to
trade it. Yeah. It's not a stock. Okay. You're not selling options like on AMC or something like that, right? I mean, it's not a stock. So be patient. That's something I've learned over the years. And, because the transaction cost and the friction is so high with real estate, right? To sell a property, it's going to cost you 6 or 7%, even with a discounted commission. You've got ins and outs, you've got exchange issues, you've got lending to think about. There's all these different variables, so, really my experience has been, to buy and hold on to it. Now, have I done that? No. Well, yes and no. I mean, so at any rate, so we continued to leverage up. So from 2000 to 2006, we turned that initial 10% down. I think it was it was about $60,000 when you considered the closing costs and everything. We turned that into assets worth about $4 million in 6 years. So we were aggressive. Okay.
Yeah, and it was an aggressive market. I mean, if you're talking 2000, 2002, 2004, 2006, I remember those days in particular. Right. And yes, I bought a property to flip it in that time period, and it appreciated by 25% in the year that I was living in it, because I was going to do I was the house hacking. I was living in it, that particular one. I was living in that flip. And so it was my primary residence because I wanted to get the tax shelter on it. And I lived in it for a year, and I had gained 25% without doing anything to it. And I sold it, and I still got a 50% exemption on my taxes because I lived in it for a year out of 2 years. Yeah. And it was like, and I didn't do anything to it. It was 25% growth. Just Right. And so, yes, you were very aggressive you were very aggressive in your movements in a very aggressive market.
That's right. So then what we did is we sold one of those. Well, we bought fourplexes. So what we started with was buying fourplexes in Orange County. And then we ended up exchanging one of those and we bought an office building for our business.
Okay.
So I had a net branch of a nationwide mortgage company in the early 2000s then. And we were building the business. I had 20 people working for me with loan processing, and we were lending in like 30 states. And it was this big to do. And I was pretty cool. But my life was like anyhow, I had a lot of zeros in the bank, but it wasn't that fulfilling, but I'll get to that part later. So the thing is that we bought this office building. And we had our business there, and things were going pretty well. And we started getting involved in Reg Ds. We started doing a lot of other different things, bought some land. We were trying our hand at a little bit of land development. And this is all 2006. And most of your listeners, if you were investing around this time, you kind of understand what was going on. The credit markets were getting wobbly. It was overheated. It felt very hot. Okay. So not unlike where we're feeling today. So that was kind of the environment. But, we felt like we had done enough that we were ready to retire and start our family. So this was kind of the perspective that we were in 2006, right before everything changed.
Right. I got married in September of 2006.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I understand that. So that's amazing. That's a great story. And I assume the story that you're saving for later is somehow engaged in the post 2006 conversation. I'm going to assume. Okay, cool. So let's jump over that and let's go to, so what do you do today? But you're financially free today. But like so many people I know, including myself, who are financially free, we don't sit around and twiddle our thumbs and play golf. I don't like golf. I don't have any interest in it, and I'm horrible at it, even if I tried to. But the point being, it doesn't draw me. It doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't make me feel on purpose. So today, what do you do with your time today? I know you do some coursework that you're working on. I know you're working with notes. So tell me about today.
Well, we're going to hop over the disaster story and go to the happy ending.
Go to the happy ending. Exactly. That's what we're going to do. And then we'll have the disaster story later.
The happy ending is that, 14 years later, or, 12 years basically after the financial correction, whatever you want to call it, for me, it was a disaster, but we'll talk about that. So where we're at today is my husband and we're partners in a business, and we buy pools of distressed notes. Okay. And these are some of the notes, believe it or not, that are left over from 2008 to 2010. Still, they're still out there.
Okay.
And the thing is our business is trying to help people stay in their homes because their homes now have equity. They have rebuilt that equity again. Okay. Yeah. And so our business, we have several different partnerships that we have with different folks. And really my role is as the CFO. So I am managing all of the books. I'm wrangling the CPA. I'm handling it when we have entities that we need forming. And then when we need to resolve those and like we're done with that pool, we'll dissolve that entity or merge it with another entity. So I've learned a lot now. And my CPA is truly my best friend. So one lesson, get a really good CPA. All right. Somebody who will answer your call, who will talk to you in real English, not in IRS speak, and doesn't have an attitude that they know everything and you can never understand it, because you can. So at any rate, so I do that. And then, but really about being financially free, to me, it's not about how many zeros are in the bank account. It's about having the cash flow on a monthly basis to live the life that I want to live. Yeah. So I homeschool my daughter. She's 12, and I spend so much time with her, and it's beautiful and we love it. And we travel and I ski. And I take care of my mom. So 4 years ago, my mom presented with dementia.
Okay.
And so I was driving 3 days a week to San Diego to help her, and we've helped her transition. And now she lives in Huntington Beach, and I, spend time with her. And my husband, he runs the business, and he's working, but we're not working for the man, so to speak, right? We set our schedules, we set our timetables, and we live the life that we want to live. So for me, financial freedom is really about having the assets under management that can allow me to have that cash flow stream that allows me to live the life that I want to live. Now, I don't have a yacht. I don't have an airplane.
You don't have an airplane? Oh man.
I don't even have a fancy car. Okay. I have a mom mobile. Okay. I have a Kia, and it's 4-wheel drive, and it gets me to skiing, which I love to ski.
That is a mom mobile. Okay.
It's a mom mobile. It has the rear back seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and my husband, he drives a pickup truck. So we're kind of more like the millionaire next door people, but that's the life we choose. So to me, financial freedom and the breakthrough, right, is really about what is the life that's important to you. We want to spend time with our family, with our parents. Our parents are older, we're a little older, so our parents are in their 80s, and we really want to spend time with them. We want our daughter to spend time with them. My daughter's out with my mother-in-law right now. They're having lunch, they're having a play date, although I'm not allowed to call it a play date anymore. It's a hangout.
It's a what? What's it called? A hangout.
So your daughter's your daughter's a little younger than mine.
No, she's 11 and a half. And we just started with the babysitter not being called a babysitter, but somebody's going to hang out with you in the house.
That's right. It's a hangout.
It's a hangout.
It's a hangout.
It's a hangout.
So, you don't even get to say sheesh anymore, right? So it's funny, but it's so much fun.
It's so much fun.
So the other thing I'm doing is, because I'm homeschooling my daughter, now your listeners are going to really think I'm crazy. I'm learning Latin. I am learning.
Why not? Because that's
obviously
because she's learning Latin. So
you're learning Latin. So I'm learning Latin. You know why? Because I can. And I'm a lifelong learner, and I want to model that for my daughter. And you know what? I have the time to do it. Isn't that amazing?
I think I want to highlight something you said, because we as women or feminines, whatever you want to call it, like I really get into the process of living life. I love the waking up, the being with my daughter. I drove her to her school this morning so she could do a pre-check-in with her school before she, blah, blah, blah. They were having the kids show up to do that. And that's my joy. That is my joy. Like, that is what makes me happy. And the capacity to have the cash flow coming in so that I can buy her sushi every Tuesday and Saturday, and it could be as much sushi as she wants. Like, that's unending sushi on Tuesday and Saturday for her, that meal. Right. And Saturday is dessert day, and we can get whatever dessert she wants on Saturday. And we'll drive to Santa Monica to get her dessert. We'll be in Pasadena to get her dessert. Like, that to me is the joyful moments of living and existing.
Yeah.
I love my real estate. I'm not saying I don't, but to me, that joy is found in the process of living my life, and the cash flow allows me to do that. Right. Versus having a portfolio that I'm constantly having to work for. That I don't have a job in real estate. I'm an investor in real estate, right? I'm a passive investor. I have had jobs in real estate. I've been a flipper. I've done a condo conversion, which took a lot of focus, right? Large flips in Pasadena, $3 million sales price. It takes a lot of focus. I don't enjoy that very much, right? I can spend 5 hours on a flip and I'm exhausted. I spend 5 hours on it, being with my clients, consulting with them on the shape and design of their portfolio and their future life. And I am energized and excited. So it's not that I'm doing nothing with my time. It's that I'm doing what energizes me and brings me joy. And I have the freedom to make that choice. And that's what you're describing.
Yes.
Right? You're describing it perfectly. It's like, whatever your joy is, if it's golf, great. If it's kids, great. If it's teaching and helping people move forward, great. If it's, for another guy, it was dogs.
Mhm.
He really loved working with dogs. For another guy, it was teaching notes to newer investors because that's how he got financially free. And it wasn't like he was teaching a class. It was just like, I like this young guy over here. I think I'll mentor him for a while. And then
Yeah.
another one, because he was more of an introvert, more for himself, more internal, right? And that was as much external as he wanted, but it meant that he wasn't feeling lost anymore. You can get financially free and feel lost. I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, what do you do then?
What do you do?
What do you, and, it's really it's about shifting, in my opinion, it's about shifting your self-worth away from what produces the money to what produces the joy.
Mhm.
And so, really for me, it's about the joy of life. And right now I'm spending a lot of time with my daughter. One of my goals, and I still set goals for myself every year.
Mhm.
I set goals with my Girl Scout troop. I set goals with my family. And one of my goals for learning and lifelong learning is to create a note process, an educational process. So, I'm learning about video
Good.
editing. I'm learning about screen presence. I'm learning how to use my hands. I'm learning about all these different things. And it's just so much fun. Now, it's taking a lot longer than maybe I originally thought it would, but I really don't care because I'm still having fun. So really it's just about, and then the other part of it too is managing the assets, making sure. So
Mhm.
I spend quite a bit of time. I spend a good amount of time just watching the balance sheet, making sure that as our investments turn over,
Mhm.
because we are note investors. And so our
Mhm.
turnover is a little faster than if you have an apartment building, for instance, maybe then you're managing the manager and watching over the tenants. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it's
It doesn't
not,
stop. Pick your
it's
notes,
not
pick your
time
apartment
free.
building.
Yes,
It's not,
exactly. So
yeah, you never
yeah.
stop babysitting and growing and managing and tweaking and fine tuning your return on equity, regardless of what your asset is. That's what I wanted to support in what you're saying. Like, he doesn't stop.
Absolutely. Exactly. It doesn't stop. And I think
Just
that
takes
that
less
maybe
time.
is a misconception.
Yes.
Real successful real estate investors don't all just go to Tahiti and put their feet up with a cocktail. Although, we can do that from time to time on
Okay.
vacation,
Okay.
but life is about so much more than that. So at any rate, to me, that's really what the financially free is about. It's not about how much cash flow I have necessarily. It's just, we have enough cash flow to live the life that we want and our lifestyle, and we're saving enough so that for the future, right? So we can see and have a path that we know that our daughter will be taken care of and will be taken care of, and our parents, so these are the things that are exciting to me. And it is very liberating. It really is.
It's we've already hit on the financial freedom, but before we move to the part where it's the sort of the case study piece, you sort of just let slide that you're actually putting together coursework. So why don't you talk a little bit about this coursework that you're putting together? Because you
Well,
already like opened the door a little bit. So I'm just gonna,
yeah, yeah,
open
yeah.
it all the
So
way. What have you put together? When do you think it's going to be available? What is it made of? What's the topic, at least, if nothing else?
sure. Well, I have, in my experience of speaking at many of the different real estate clubs, I noticed that there are a lot of educators around flipping, wholesaling, the real estate side of things, the tangible asset, buying a property, selling a property, long-term buy and hold, that kind of thing. But there are not a lot of educators around real estate notes. So these are loans that are backed or secured by real estate, and it's a little bit deeper dive. So I have recorded an introductory course. It's, maybe it should have been 45 minutes, but I like to talk and hear myself talk, so it's 5 hours. So right now it's with the editing group, and they're trying to whittle it down and make me look somewhat, presentable. I cannot talk like this. So we're working on all of that right now. I don't know when it'll be finished because, again, there's a lot of moving parts. But I'm really hoping that in the new year, to put a date on it, because I do set goals. So
Mhm.
to put a date on it in the new year, that we'll be ready to launch something for 2022. And also I'm very keenly aware of the timing of this, because like you mentioned in the beginning, as you were building my bio up, I do watch the economic situation, and in an inflationary environment, being the lender is maybe not the best seat for people to be sitting in. So do I want to be encouraging, there's a timeliness to sharing the information, so really being a lender is better after a correction. And so when the market is maybe moving back up. So there may be a little bit of a time element to it. And I'm just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen, here in the fall and towards the end of the year with the economy in general.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. But I think people should keep an eye out for it. Because like I said, one of the things that Kathleen is really good at.
Follow me on
numbers.
LinkedIn. Yep. We'll talk about that at the end.
Follow me on LinkedIn. You're saying follow you on LinkedIn. Yep.
Yeah. Follow me on LinkedIn, because that's where I'll make announcements. And, I'm not posting on Facebook every day. I'm not the kind of person that does all those things. But I have my website from when I was selling apartment buildings, which is the site that you're looking at now, the Liberty Real Estate Network.
Yep.
So I'm not really transacting right now. I'm not representing clients with transactions. That's just part of my background. I was I'm a real estate broker, and I was helping people buy and sell apartment buildings. And so that's the website is it's a legacy website. And then my LinkedIn profile is just Kathleen M. Kramer. So you can go there. And when I'm ready to launch something, then that's where I'll be. And of course I have a database of clients and people that are interested. And so if you're interested in a note investing course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and then you'll be in my sphere. And then when we're ready to launch, then I'll be ready to share that with you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So let's get to the last juicy piece.
Oh no.
Let's get to the last juicy piece.
Confessions now.
Yeah, it's confession time. Okay, we talked about how real estate is something that will require the best of us. It can be super easy, super fun. We love the process of it. And then you will have something that requires the best of you. So what was your learning curve? What was your time when the real estate effectively handed you your backside and you met it straight on, as difficult as it was, and you came through to the other side?
Yeah, so I already shared about my first foray into real estate in Hawaii, but that is not the disaster story. That I did learn a lot from that experience, but actually my very best transaction in real estate turned into my very worst. So here's kind of how that went. So in the mid 2000s, before 2006, in like 2004, and I'm thinking back to those days and reliving it. So you'll have to forgive me if my face makes some contortions, because it wasn't really that fun. So we started building our portfolio in 2000. We had some very high income years, my husband and I, in the mortgage business in 2001, 2003 to 2004, and things were going very well, 2005. So in 2004, we sold an apartment building that we owned, and we bought an office building for my office. It was, it had about 7 units in it. It was a single story kind of on a street. It was in between a donut shop and a fire station. Okay. And we had our business there, and we bought the property for about $900,000. So it was mostly vacant when we bought it. It needed a lot of tenant improvements. We put $50,000 more into it to make it ADA compliant. There's a long lesson story there about pulling permits and due diligence, but that's not the story. The story is then in 2006, we sold that building for $1.7 million. So we made $800,000 in 2 years on this purchase, and it was a home run. I mean, we basically doubled our money in 2 years, and we were walking away after our mortgage got paid off. We were walking away with about $1 million. Okay. So hold that number in your mind. Right. And we were worth on paper, we were worth about 4 million at the time. And it's funny because it was kind of our best income year, but we were traveling a lot. And so we were in Hungary closing on our office building in Huntington Beach, FedExing grant deeds and documents back and forth. It was great.
I've done that.
So,
yes.
So anyways, so the lesson though was at that moment, we had some decisions to make because we got into a 1031 tax deferred exchange. Okay. And I'm sure, Christina, this is a big part of your consulting business, because 1031 exchanges are most likely the most risky transactions in real estate if you don't prepare properly in advance. And, you know, correct. We were very smart then. So we had taken 60,000 and turned it into 4 million. So we were pretty confident in ourselves. Okay. We were pretty smart. Okay. I hope you're getting the message here, folks.
Oh yeah. We're super smart in 2006. We were super smart. Weren't we?
Super smart, right? Yes. Until I wasn't. Okay. Yes. So here's what we did with our money, right? We were exchanging. And at the time I also had a real estate practice, and I was with Keller Williams. And I thought that, wow, you know, what should I do to find the best investments to replace my office building that I sold? And I thought, well, why don't I find the top producing Keller Williams agent in the entire country? And why don't I ask him what I should do? Okay. So I found him, and he was in Phoenix, and he was a real estate developer. And so what we did is we took our 1.7 million and we got into escrow on 2 properties in Phoenix. They were condos in a high-rise tower in downtown Phoenix. And at the time, the building did not have its certificate of occupancy. This is the mistake. Okay. This was a mistake. So we thought we had done our due diligence. We found out all about the builder. We went to his offices. We met with his CPA, his CFO, all his team. He had designers. He owned a huge market center in Scottsdale and was the biggest top producer. He had $1 billion in listings at the time. Okay. So we thought we were in good shape.
Should be fine. Yeah.
Should be fine, right?
Yeah, should be fine.
We put our money, our deposit, our cash went into, and we were buying up just a little bit. So we had a couple of loan approvals from Countrywide on the condos. Now you're smiling because you know how this ends. And this was just January of 2007. We closed escrow on the office building in October of 2006. 2007, we're in escrow. We have loan approval from Countrywide. The building we're just waiting for the certificate of occupancy so we can close. The builder stopped making payments on his construction loan.
Right.
Countrywide backed out of the marketplace, as did everybody at that time. There wasn't really loans to be had. Okay.
Yeah. Lily, there were not loans to be had. I had 2 different construction loans that were pulled. One was single family. One was on a multi-unit condo conversion. They were both pulled.
Okay. Gets even better. The escrow company had released money to the builder from our deposits. The builder, instead of having that money protected, was using it to keep the project going, trying to get to the finish line before all the house of cards fell down. Well, the FDIC ended up taking over the construction lender who had the first trust deed.
Okay.
The mezz lender also went out of business. This was a big scandal in Scottsdale. The owner of the mezz lender committed suicide. I mean, everything that could go wrong could go wrong. So at the end of the day, it took a couple of years. We ended up getting maybe $250,000 of our money back. And we had a huge tax write-off. Now, because we had a good CPA, he helped us. And because but we were in the middle of an exchange. And remember, we had profited on the down leg. Okay. So this could have been a lot worse, but this was really the come to you know who
moment,
right? Where it was like, wow, we could have a tax liability for this blown up exchange because we profited $900,000 on this sale transaction, right. But then we had this loss on the other side. So we were able to work out a deal where we didn't end up owing taxes, and we ended up with a big paper loss. Okay. Now, the $4 million that we were worth on paper had also gone down because, properties, halved in value, and we were invested in North Carolina, Texas, Idaho. We were diversified like nationwide, right?
I'm 5 different states. At one point I was in 5 different states.
Yes, exactly. We were diversified. Okay. Which was not a bad idea. Okay. To not have all your eggs in California. That's
right.
okay. I'm with that. But at any rate, so what did we take away? So the first thing was, it was such an education in the tax code. Now, it turned out that if I had done a little more research, we may have had some other options on 1031s that we could have plugged into when we didn't feel comfortable with these 2 condos in Arizona. Okay. So I'm talking about your DSTs and some of your other types of situations. Now they may not have turned out well either, right? Because the whole world changed and a lot of people lost their financing. A lot of projects blew up around that time. Yeah. So the big issue was we thought mentally, because it's mostly a mental game, right? Because do you ever really have $4 million like in a pile on your bed? Probably not, right?
No.
So where is the money really? It's here in your mind.
Yeah.
So what we had to do is we really had to shift our mindset from we're ready to retire, because this was our retirement plan, right? This was our exit. We were going to start our family. I got pregnant and had my baby in 2008, but so we were on this path, and what we had to do to get through it, the breakthrough was really realizing what was important to us. Yeah. That we had been working 60 to 80 hours a week. We had been pushing and not paying much attention to our family, our extended family, for all this time. And then we had this devastating financial situation happen to us. We almost lost our marriage. It was huge stress, but we made a choice to stay together, to stand through it, and to rebuild. And we learned about the tax code, and we learned that we could use those losses on paper to offset some other things that we wanted to do. And we repositioned our portfolio, dusted ourselves off.
Yes.
We remembered.
Stood back up again.
Yes, we remembered suddenly that we weren't that smart.
Yes.
So the best lesson we learned was that we learned that we didn't know as much as we thought we knew. Yeah. We had the opportunity to research other exit strategies, but we were so razzle dazzled with this top producer person, that we thought we had it all figured out. And it turns out that, the people who build the biggest houses could have the entire house crash, and not necessarily because your fault. It wasn't our fault. Yeah. I mean, we thought we had done everything right. There's contingent liabilities and learning that there is third-party counterparty risk. We didn't do due diligence on the construction lender for the building we were building in, and how far do you have to go in your due diligence? We could have gone a lot farther and found the issues. But we stopped because we were smart.
Yes. Because we knew all the indicators were just fine.
We were so smart.
We were so smart.
Yeah, we were so smart.
Really digging in. And the only piece I would add is, because what I learned, right, from doing my downturn was to never have more than a third in any particular project. So that if something like that happens, but like you said, the whole portfolio is going down. I had the same thing. I had working properties, and I had properties that I was active in, and I had like passive rental properties, and they all went down, and I sold them all. I got married in September of 2006. And then I gave birth to my daughter in October of 2009. And what I remember in those moments was in resetting my values, resetting my expectations, accepting that I was a loser and that I needed to be humble. Even though I thought I was super smart because I had to gain multiple millions of dollars, right? And here I was watching it go down at 100,000 a time, right? Like every month I was losing like a good $100,000. Like that's a lot of money. I don't know about other people, but to me, that's a lot of money. I went, they can't take away my baby. And that's what refocused me. It's the concept of they can take away everything else, but they can take away all my money, all my properties, all my everything, all my identity. But they can't take away my baby. My baby's mine. And that's what refocused my values.
Absolutely. Wow. I mean, we have a very similar story. Isn't that amazing that, and I tell people all the time that having my daughter saved my life. It saved my marriage. It saved my life, and it refocused me on what now, how I feel now, what's really important. And so, we don't need the fancy car. I don't need to work 60 or 80 hours a week, and neither does my spouse. I mean, he doesn't either, and excuse me, I almost said a bad word. It ticks people off. It does. Like,
Yes.
how come you're not working harder? Well, because I have the choice. I've made some financial decisions in my life, and I have, it's delayed gratification is a big part of it. We're trying to teach our 12-year-old about this concept right now. And we're working on it.
Right.
And, because, that iPhone is just, she's dying, it's
Okay. 12 iPhone. Yeah.
right.
That's
So,
the age.
yeah. So these are the things, though, to me that are so important. And and now we feel so much more gratified, and, and we're not worth $4 million, but we have plenty of cash flow, and the return on our assets that we do have is higher, and we're doing, so we're happy with where we're at, and we are growing it, and it's a process, and
you can be financially free while you're growing.
Yes.
That's one of the things that real estate lets you do. You can be financially free and continue to grow your asset base.
Yeah.
Nice.
And this becomes so important. And I think in the last year, it has really come into true high definition for me, the liberty that we've created in our lives, my husband and I, and for our family, because we're not subject to medical requirements or masking, or there's very few things or people that can tell us how to live our life. Right. Mm-hmm. And, I think people are really experiencing that right now. And my heart really breaks for them, and so I'm so grateful every day that we've made the choices that we've made in the past, and that we can build that. And this is the motivation for doing the courses on the note investing. I see a need. I think that it's needed in the marketplace. There's a way that people can find out about note investing. And in a really non-guru kind of a way, it's more about the definition of what it is. How does the process work? What are the things that you're going to need to know? Because it is a more complicated transaction. It's not the first deal you're ever going to do in real estate. Let's hope. I hope not.
All right. On that note, we're going to bring this to a close. If people want to get a hold of you, Kathy, how do they get a hold of you?
Okay. So the very best thing to do for me is to connect with me on LinkedIn, Kathleen M. Kramer, Kathleen M. It's Marie, but you can remember it. It stands for money.
Okay. Kathleen Money Kramer. Love it.
M. Kramer.
Right.
And just connect with me on LinkedIn, and, we can chat a little bit in the private messaging, and just stay in touch. And then when I'm ready to launch things, then that'll be when I launch things. And, people come to me for advice, and then I send them to Christine. Christina, and point them in the right direction. I'm not coaching or anything like that right now. I'm learning Latin, and I'm homeschooling my daughter, and I'm learning how to be a better educator. So hopefully I can bring that value to people, because I feel like I have some value to bring. I know I don't know everything. I know this much, and I'm happy to share.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for listening in. Goodbye to you. This is Christina Suter on Real Estate Breakthrough.